Hello everybody, hopefully my microphone is working well, and today is a new day and a new Q&A and critique number 66. We're currently at local time 2024 UTC. We have started late mainly because my day has been chaotic. I had done no publicity. As always, it seems like I'm a very slow learner when it comes to this, but we have got some good close friends here today. We're connected with Leaps, a good old friend Pose and Shmuel, and also I'm kind of drunk. So today is an open microphone day, and we also, Usama, thanks for connecting as well, and Slink, excellent. So today is an open art day, which means if you have some art that you'd like to take a look at, and get a third eye, a third opinion, or even just to share your art here at this moment in this live stream for everyone to see, this is a good place to do it and a good time to do it. So I'm Kinda Drunk has volunteered one of his pieces that he has been working on for the Halloween season, and I also have a number of pieces from this music video that I'd like to share with you. I know many of you have also been working on some other pieces, but if you have anything that you'd like to share, well, just drop a ping. Slink has a question. Does anyone have a Snapchat? I'm not sure. So,
I used to.
yeah, I've never used it. And another topic today that we're going to be talking about is the Bcon from the Blender conference. So since we're working in the Let's Be for Artists community, which is a fork of Blender, we also got the opportunity of seeing other forks inside of the Bcon, seeing other people's art and techniques, and it's kind of a interesting event. So we've spent a couple of hours yesterday watching a few of these videos. There are new ones today to go through. There's lots of content to go through all of next week. So we're going to discuss some of these videos, and it's also going to be an open microphone. So Slink has mentioned that you have created a Snapchat filter. Hey, that's very cool. I wonder if you could transfer that to Instagram as well. All right, so without further ado, I guess let's begin. So I'm Kinda Drunk. Let's take a quick look at your piece of art. You also shared the blend file. So I'm going to load this up nice and quickly. And I wanted to ask you, tell us about your piece. Which is
My
here.
friend Julio. My friend Julio, the other one, the one that I on the last episode of season 1, that my friend Julio.
Ah, yes.
We started a so we could use Blender continually. Like we had one scene or animation or render per week, and we're doing this on Halloween. And he suggested some prompts, and this one is. Oh, I got a mental relapse. Sorry, but we were working on the one project per week, and this one was Mummy, and it was my attempt to do it, a character.
That's looking really good. So you said you were doing one a week. You mentioned you've done some other ones as well.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's take a look, a closer look. So I have them here in the chat. There's one with a phantasma, another one with a conspiración.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let me see if I can download them.
It's pretty a ghost. This one was the more technical one of them all.
Okay, so I'm downloading the files, and I'm going to try load them up. Just give me a moment. So it's kind of cool. I'm happy to see you do this art this week. And how is Julio at the moment? What is he working on these days with you? Did you do these pieces together?
No, but we think we're gonna do a collab on day 31. Day 31 of October.
Which is the day on Tuesday, correct? Monday? Monday. There we go. So Conspiración, Phantasma, and the shot with, let's see if I can load it correctly. Here it is. Copy, paste. So tell me more about this mummy piece, actually, because I have a question for you, actually, concerning these eyes. How did you get this glow into the eyes? This kind of transparent, hazy glass material.
This is actually a cheat because I used a glass shade, principled BSDF with transmission, and I just plugged a lamp inside of it, and because of the wraps, it looks like plastic.
It does. And so your other piece, let's take the first one. Which one? Fantasma or Conspiración?
Inspiration first. It's less technical. This one was done in a bit of a hush. The theme was basically conspiracy.
Wow, you have fully
And
rigged
I went,
characters in here.
yeah. And the characters, I wanted to shout out to Joey Carlino because he made an incredible tutorial on how to create characters from simple modifiers. And also, he was my first Blender Royale partner, which was cool.
Hey.
When I was watching his tutorial, I realized that I knew his name before. And I was like, cool.
Yeah, a while ago in Arundel's Discord server, we used to do a weekly event where we would compete with each other as teams. We would compete as individuals into actual 1 hour Blender pieces with a prompt. So we would use a prompt and we would pretend to be an AI art generator and create some art from the prompt. And it was good fun sometimes working as teams and others. So Slink, he doesn't want to cry all the nostalgia. Who knows, maybe when my life is less chaotic, I will be able to host those events sometime again.
We still, on occasion,
Every
have them.
now and then.
Yeah, but not regularly.
Yeah. The big event that's coming up at the moment is November, which is about to be released not on Monday but Tuesday. And the prompts have been released in
This
2
year's
days.
going to be wild.
Yeah, fortunately November the event is going to be able to be done every 2 days. You get to do a prompt with your nodes or shaders or in geometry or Houdini or whatever. Great. So did you rig these characters? How did you rig them so quickly? Within a week?
Maybe skin modifier? I don't know.
That's true. It's pretty nice. I like this. And
Yeah, I would think skin modifier.
yeah, it does look a bit like that. Yeah, I think Joey on his tutorial channels, he's done a lot of series of concerning character creation and things like that, and he uses skin modifier quite often with his character designs, which are very fast and easy, and you also have a rig behind it, I suppose. That makes sense. And so your next piece that we have, so this was the first week, correct? I'm kind of drunk.
Oh, the second one.
This was the
But
second.
it was I had a case of the Mondays, you know. The week wasn't very good. And I just worked for maybe 1 hour or so in total time of the week. But I managed to do it.
That happens sometimes. So in the shaders, another question I had, you're using a Voronoi texture with an Euclidean 0 randomness to get the grid, the pixel grid. Nice. I was wondering about that. Okay, so your next little piece that you shared, which is really nice, thanks for this, is the
I
Phantasma.
think this is the best one. Yes.
Alright, let's take a guess what it is. Go into the camera. Going into the render view. And you also have an animation. Just confirm this. Just download it. There you go, Phantasma. Here we go. The little blanket comes down and starts flying around with the green light underneath. That's fun. You're very brave for using the cloth physics, and so this was the cloth for the physics inside of the Blender simulation systems.
Yes, and and I used the path, just draw with the still the tablet, and it works like butter. I don't know why. I think it's been my best cloth simulation ever. Maybe because I didn't use solidify. It's just like a thin little sheet. But I used the BRSDF. What's the I forgot it. The one for skin. You know, like
Yes,
realistic.
yes. It did look like a fleshy cloth. But concerning the simulation, how would you get it going? Because at the moment, it seems like my cache is broken. Here it is, a
Oh,
cache. So I would have to delete all the bakes and then bake them all again.
oh! I wish I had your PC, Drees.
But is it slower on your machine at the moment?
Yes, I don't have a good processor.
All right.
Processor? No, is the name of it?
CPU.
CPU. Yeah.
CPU, right?
Central Processing Unit. There we go.
Nerd.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool on viewport. Though when it comes to my cycles rendering, it's not very good. If I wanted some good playback, I would have to switch to Eevee. And then press play. This is fun. Yeah, planning
could have done.
yours has some volumes inside. Oh no, you don't. I turned it off.
The world has a tiny volumetric.
I see. Yeah, I got it. It's amazing how it trails like that.
I didn't expect it to work this good in Eevee.
The lighting is probably less bouncy than like the way the light fills in underneath. Like for example, this bloom, you only see it when it comes into the screen because there's a screen space bloom. So the light that's casting from the object, because it's Eevee, doesn't work. You would have to use like a lamp or something.
Oh, I think it's because of the keyframe. I think the object just appears on that time.
Oh really?
I think so.
But the quick hack is you can like just parent a light to the emission object. Oh, this way. You need to... Where is the light? Here it is. And then you have the light inside there. You can keyframe the light with the emission object and then you're good to go.
Nice. Conversion between cycles to Eevee.
Yeah, that's the one of the key factors that Eevee's not good at is the bounce light and the actual let me just say, and the emission objects. You can't use emission objects. So when did you guys watch the video about lighting in the sprite fight short film from Bcon?
Sadly, no.
Sadly, no. All the nostalgia. Yeah, yesterday the videos that in right at the moment, just to give you guys a quick summary, is like this week, yesterday, today, and I think tomorrow possibly, there is a Blender conference happening in Amsterdam at the moment. So they have been very open about it, and every single conference, every single chat, even some live streams and interviews, all of these topics are being shared online on the Blender YouTube channel at the moment. And yesterday I was doing a watch party on my own work server while I worked. And we were watching a number of these episodes. So we were talking earlier here with Shmuel about some of the videos that he did watch. And I also watched a number of them. Some of them come with some good news, other ones come with some really interesting artists and their techniques. Some will come in from different studios and the tech that they're working with. And there was one particular video that we really liked, or agree, was the Dylan Goo Studio, I think it was called. Adds their own fork blender called Goo Blender. And they just released the repository onto GitHub, which you can compile yourself to start working with some new cool effects from Eevee. So that's one of the little topics that we saw. And so Blender Goo I really enjoyed as a concept. Another ones we had a look at was the grease pencil work over the past 10 years and how it has evolved. We also had a look at Dedauz, who's a French artist who's been using a lot of grease pencil and creative art, and he's made quite a big name for himself. So I wanted to ask you guys, which ones have you watched and which was your favorite so far? If you have watched any.
I have watched the Polyhaven one. That was nice.
What did it talk about?
About free business, basically using free stuff as a business and living of it.
Wow, how do they do that?
Interesting.
Yeah, I would like to watch that.
That's a good question.
I should watch the conference. And my favorite one was definitely the one about the Goodalin. Okay, so where is it? Journey Fabricator. Another thing that I watched was the journey from Fabricator to Jati, which is the future of blend development, which I find very relevant. So one of these guys, it's a very boring chat unless you know what it's talking about. But one of the biggest issues that Blender has had with development is that it uses a system called Fabricator, which is now EOL, end of life, and it's no longer supported, and it's getting old, and it's also sometimes when you're tracking patches that people commit, it doesn't track them with the revisions and the other tasks and things like this. Sometimes you lose the hash, and with that you have some issues. Even though it's open source, it's started to create some issues, and they also started to realize for new developers they need some Git flow. So they've been taking a look in Git to see if they could migrate their entire platform and all of their code and all of their repositories to the new platform, which is based a bit more on something familiar, which is nice. This means hopefully in the near future it makes development inside Blender and with Blender much easier, because Fabricator is, collaboration with Fabricator is not easy, and it's not standardized, and it makes development in Blender slow. So this talk here was very interesting about the journey from Fabricator to GT. And the other one, the custom tools behind Dylan Goo Studios, was the one I mentioned earlier about the Blender build, which includes Eevee light passes, so you can assign lights to particular objects, which I consider extremely important when it comes to rendering, especially MPI rendering. And I also had code for some new nodes to access shader data, shadow data, render passes, render depth, screen space, other things like that directly in the shader nodes, so you can create something quite nice. The Dylan Goo Studios was really cool, but in this case, talking about development, you're going to have to build your own version of it to use it. So I'm kind of wondering, maybe talking with them one day, maybe saying, hey, could I use this in B4 Artist? Who knows? I'd love to. So other topics was another one that I've been watching is an interesting debate and conversation between Andrew Price, Ton Rosendale, and Pablo Vasquez. I started watching that one, haven't finished it. There's so much other good topics that I haven't finished. What other topics have you guys seen that you really liked? It doesn't matter. So I have another piece that I would like to share with you guys. I'm finishing up a music video at the moment. So this music video with the work that I've been doing is nearly done. I'm basically doing the final edit right now, and I've already finished the final frames and composites, and now I'm just putting it all together and editing it to the music. And I've managed to get a lot of these frames done, and I'm quite happy with it. But I wanted to ask you guys, get some critique or get some ideas, I suppose, because there's another video coming up, and so there's the topics that I'm working through here. Let me just turn off scrubbing, and I'm working through different parts of the city with different areas, different actions, and trying to get some story and some flesh into the actual world. The whole entire album is just telling where this entire universe is happening. So this is now the 4th episode, or the 3rd episode. In this case would be the 3rd episode, the 4th song or track of the album. And we're going to, and basically we've got a general idea of this shot. So I have a question for you guys here in the chat. And let me just make sure everything's fine online. I wanted to ask you guys, when you see the shot here, what do you guys see? Is it intelligible? And when you see it, what do you think is happening? Before I play back the animation from the shot.
Guy in a spacesuit listening to music while on a line, maybe on a street, maybe going inside a place.
Yeah, you got it. Nice. All right, so yeah, so he's a guy, we've seen him before in one of the earlier episodes. So in the first episode, we saw this guy at the beginning of the story, and he's working on it in a workshop on this rocket engine or something, and this is where we first see him. So we've decided, like I was talking with DG Unknown, and we decided to throw in a cameo. So in the previous video, the one about Gail Renix, which is the episode number 2, this particular lady in red, she's kind of someone from Kentucky, someone who's come from the Bible Belt, comes in with her a sense of personality, a bit strong, a bit ignorant at the same time, and she's back in this story again. But the new character that we have here is this particular robot. So the robot here, he is a character that he's kind of like a slave in this entire story. Let me just go to this particular shot here and speed control it, get a bit longer. There you go. So let's see if I can get a wider shot of him. There he is. So he's a commercial robot, I suppose, a bit of a servant, a bit of a slave. He does purchases, he carries the shopping for her. He's getting lost in the crowd, and he's a robot that at the end of the video that we saw in the last shot, he's practically carrying everything for this woman who's doing her shopping and using him as that particular slave. So I really want to show you guys the full video, but it's not finished yet. But this is one of the key shots of the video where we have a shop of newer robots. Everybody's in the consumption, lining up to buy these robots. And then we see our familiar friend here, who's standing in line, ready to buy the pieces and things like that. He's standing in line with a robot as well. And at the end of the day, he gets noticed by the android repairman. He's the core character of this show. But with that, done a quick walk cycle as they walk off into the distance, and this robot, as a slave, is carrying all these stuff into distance. So this is basically the summary of the shot. So what do you guys think? My general story that I want to tell with the shots that you have seen so far, is it hitting the target?
No, before we go on, do something. Were androids harmed during the production of these videos?
Yes.
Yes.
They're all suffering in a sea of people. They have no rights.
And suffering never ends.
I should probably drop this below. There we go. And here's the commercial district. It's just full of people, billboards, shops, lights, people buying their things. There's a drone that comes in landing. I'm just quickly scrubbing through because I haven't done a full render yet. They're getting their gifts. They fly in, they fly out. And the whole city is covered in neon lights. So there's the shop that I showed you earlier. This is my favorite shop from here. And then there's this shop here, which is my second favorite shop. And that's the end of the video.
Did you rig all the characters and everything?
The robot, the woman and the robot, these were Mixamo rigs that I converted into control rigs. And then from there, I used the control rigs. She has some custom hand rigs that I created earlier, and a custom hand rig, and custom eye rigs, but she doesn't. I still have no facial rigs yet. So for example, this character here, I added as well some custom hand rigs so that I can pose his hands, but for some reason he still has no hands. I need to check out why.
Kind of handless, don't you think?
Yeah. Well, I hope it's not noticeable for anyone later. Since the paint is abstract enough. So Slink, you shared the link to your application filter. Would I have to install Snapchat to use it?
Sadly, yes.
Sadly, yes.
Yes. You need to install
say.
Snapchat, and then you need to take a picture of that QR code thing.
Which is here. Copy. Is this one here? Looking back at this piece, out of all the three pieces, I quite like this one. Found the most.
It was the funniest, the coolest. But I felt greater doing this one. I had the most fun doing it because the bends are just a cylinder with the I can't speak. Sorry.
No worries.
With modifiers, the shrink wrap modifier, and it was fun because it was just like moving it up, rotating a little, moving it up, rotating a little, and I then later used subdivision multi-res to sculpt those details. Because at this point I hadn't seen the tutorials for the characters yet, sadly.
Have you gone through them now?
Lucky on the ice.
I also like how you left the denoising all the noise samples quite low, so you can get this painted feel, like around here.
Yeah, someone noticed it.
You did this intentionally, I suppose?
Yes, I only used I use only 2065. No, 256. Oh my god. Sorry, it's the benzos. Uh,
256
oh,
samples?
yes.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't used cycles in a production for a very long time. Or a while. So lately I've been working, saving up to get a new computer soon. But the samples on the volumetrics, it denoise the volumetrics quite well, actually. Or did you use the volumetrics on another pass?
No, I plugged the volumetrics to the world shader.
Okay.
So evenly.
All right. Okay. There are so many videos I need to watch. There was another thing that I noticed is like the common theme of the Blender conference. This is maybe I have a question for you because lately I've been the keynote from Ton and then his interview with Andrew Price. He talks a lot about Blender not being supposed to be a part of the pipeline in Hollywood. Yet a lot of the people talk about making money with this project, using it in the industry, students needing to learn it, or studios not adopting it because it's not pipeline ready to some degree. And his counter argument was that a pipeline requires somebody working on a piece of a factory line, like one person doing modeling, another person doing the UVs, another person doing textures, through an entire manufacturing line to get the job done. But he's like, but Blender wants to focus on being more of a generalist tool to make it good for artists to some degree. What do you guys think about this topic, philosophically, of what Ton is saying about the involvement of Blender in the industry and concerning its relationship with its artists? Do you agree with Ton Rosendahl in the idea that Blender's focus shouldn't focus too much on the actual production pipeline and focus more on the artistry? Do you think they are focusing on the artistry? If so, what do you think?
I think it's like for now I think it's like semi both, because if you like do just a one dude army, like do sculpting, animating, rigging and shit, then yeah, you could do that. But like if you use like add-ons, like I don't know, those Rig Pro thing from CG Cookie or other add-ons, you can kinda specialize your Blender somehow. Like as a modeler, you have loot tools enabled just by default because yes, just best. Then you have like other add-ons for it. I don't think Mesh Machine and other things just to specialize Blender just for hard surface modeling. Then there are more add-ons for sculpting. So basically, I think Blender without add-ons is just like the general is really general, just nothing special, but also nothing bad. But with add-ons, like specializes itself for the user.
Right, so it depends on the user, because that's another thing I noticed as well. For example, there are a number of developers who have been talking a lot, and other people have been working on their things, which brings out a lot of light. For example, I watched the asset management video, and they were talking about the development and talking about the features and things. And there were a couple other developers talking about their features, and there was a common theme that sometimes I heard that the development is something that the studios need to do, that the people need to create and commit and work to.
Yes.
And I guess someone also mentioned the topic of using right-click select for feature requests and things like that. And also, I suppose that everybody's trying to touch or defend the customer service concerning development and priority and things like that. But at the same time, they're celebrating or spouting the idea of new animation tools and new animation concepts. What do you guys think about the direction of development inside Blender and what they were trying to focus on? Do you feel like they're the development features from the community or what the community ask for in the right-click select and other communities, do you think they're being heard at the moment? Are they implementing these features? Do you think it's slow progress or fast progress? Do you think they're hitting the mark? Are they providing an excellent customer support based on their work that they have been doing in the Blender Foundation? From the videos that you've been seeing so far, or just from general progress, what do you think? Do you think it should improve, or do you think they're making a good progress?
I think in the future, some of the features of Blender that were, let's say, put aside in development are gonna come back. Like, for instance, with oh my god, sorry.
No worries.
With the new geometry nodes tools and things, I think some old ways of doing things are changing at a light speed, and especially with Velasquez, because this guy is a machine. He's like made he barely did the sculpture. It was incredible when they revamped it, you know.
Ah. Velasquez was the one that worked on who does the Blender Today streams? No, that's Vasquez. Velasquez is the one.
Oh yes, I mixed the two of them.
Right. Anyone else? Do you guys have an opinion about the development? Are you happy with it so far? If you feel like it, you can open up the microphone, there's no problem, or write it in the chat. Today's a bit of a slow day, and an experiment as well, keeping it open.
A yes and a no.
Yes and a no. Well, why the yes and the no?
So they're very good at fixing bugs. Not very good at the feature requests.
Yeah, I agree with that to some degree.
It's like something I could feel like it's not a bug, but it's about a feature they just put in. And I want to tell them feedback on how they should do it, or what's good, what's bad. And like, it's not a bug, post it in like select where nobody's going to see it.
That's true.
Yeah, I posted on there, but like, I don't think anyone sees it.
Yeah, I wonder about that too, because one of my debates was like they're really thinking about the future of animation at the moment, which would require maybe some code refactoring, rewriting how the animation system works, which is a factor of like reinventing the video sequencer editor, reinventing the timeline and how to attach that to the animation editors, thinking how to work with the animation editors as a concept, making the NLA actually code that works where you can drag and drop strips from the asset browser, things like that. They're looking for ideas. They have an open document. One of their core developers has dropped out from doing core development to become someone who's working exclusively in the animation and rigging development, which is great. He's focusing, which I think is very good for them at the Blender Foundation. But at the same time,
he was a developer and now he's an animator?
He is a rigger and animator by nature as an artist, but he was a core developer who did core development, which is the bug fixing, the general architecture, all of the spaghetti work and the pipes that work behind everything. So he was that developer, but now he is only in the animation and rigging module, which is the module for working with the animation editors and the animation workflows.
He's still developing that.
But he's still a developer, yes. So he's the one that started the initiative on Twitter and with the open documents on Google Sheets to get ideas for animation. And these documents, 20 pages, 30 pages long. I haven't finished reading everything, but generally the proposals are very similar to what I've read in Right Click Select. Like GPU skinning, motion trails, onion skinning, using more open armatures, more of an object, less about armatures, bone layers, bone visibility, IK-FK snapping constraints, or an IK-FK constraints, things like that. All these ideas have been repeated many, many times over the years, but I guess it's always is a common topic that is just difficult to do or difficult to implement. So this is where something that was mentioned inside of the Blender conference, it was also mentioned by Ton, is that they're starting to do these labs, this workshops. They're starting to work on actual projects and an open initiative to kind of consolidate all the community add-ons and themes and things with a new extensions website. And they're also thinking to start consolidating people's code and ideas and workshops a bit more openly, so that they actually have an institute or a system for people to start working together. Similar to what we had with development with the outliner concerning the GSOC, the Google Summer of Code, which was funded by Google, where they would fund students and the students will work with developers in the Blender Foundation to help improve everything. This is how we got the really cool new features from the outliner from, for example, colors and tags and the collection system and everything like that was done by some students. Well, a student, he did a really good job. So they're thinking to hopefully do that more. We'll see what happens. So that was some good news that I heard in the Blender Foundation. It was that, well, okay. So they're trying to, see you later, Shmuel. Have a good one. So they're trying to make things, I guess you could say, develop by migrating their whole entire code base into something that's more of a Git flow friendly, developer friendly, open source and future proof. Something that's actively being developed and has some customer support. But also they're trying to think of strategies, not only just ideas, which gives me some hope.
Trace, how does the development of Blender impacts directly in B4 artists? Like, you guys have to go against the wind, like, you know?
The tricky one. So Rainer, he's the core developer. He started the project to get his interface work sorted or started. And that's how the project began. This was 6 years ago. Right now, I sponsor Iyad when I can with my work and my cash and also emotional support, I suppose, to help Iyad do a weekly merge. So when we do a weekly merge, we download the Blender repository and then we compare the code. We compare the code of the B4Artist repository with the code from Blender, and with that, we're able to see if the code fits. So we have like 3,000 different changes inside B4Artist, with over many different documents that we try to tag and comment and everything, and then we just comb through all of the changes and the commits from Blender every week, which I think is a similar process to how Blender Goo does it with their animation studio. So Late as Usual, who's a very cool MPR artist, and the other guys, I think their team does a similar process where they merge in the master into their fork to make it work. BGE also spent a while doing this just to get up to date with their code as well. So B4Artist, I sponsor Iyad, and when I can, I go through the commit logs and see what's changed, and I report any of the changes. And then inside GitHub, we check and see if everything is okay. For example, let's take a look. So here in the tracker, I report all of the latest new things that have come in from for example, the new mesh topology category of geometry nodes, which comes with 7 new nodes, the new sample UV surface node, the new set curve normals node, all of the geometry nodes that comes in. There's also a new operator for duplicating linked geometry nodes groups in the node editors. So I have to log and make sure that everything new coming from Blender is making sure it's okay. Right now we have like a couple of bugs that we work with it. So in this case, we do this by week. So when Blender evolves and something changes, then we get it inside the master and we adapt it to our current philosophy of the interface. The problem with, for example, doing a massive refactor of Blender, which is millions of lines of code, thousands of documents, and if not tens of gigs of dependencies that would need to be compiled over decades now of code. If they refactor something, for example, EV-Next or the compositor, like when the compositor went into master, or when Blender 2.8 released, which was a big refactor of many things, including the new EV, the removal of the Blender engine, removal of the Blender render engine, the disabling of the texture nodes. 2.8 broke a lot, and we had to take some time, some months even, to start preparing the code and updating everything and rebasing. Rebasing is the concept of like, okay, so we got the Blender changes and we got our changes, and then we need to go back to the beginning and apply all of our changes again instead of doing it to work that has already been done to make sure that we have a clean build. Obviously, every week this gets very difficult because so Iyad has a lot of work, but he's also in university. So I try to increase my sponsorship here and there. I'm still working on it. But obviously he needs more support, and I also need more time because I can work on this code a little bit, like these tasks that I can do. So it requires time, which becomes more and more difficult the more Blender speeds up their development or does their changes in their core code. So for example, another thing that was very difficult that we had to confront was using the One API code from Intel graphics card, which is a very new code. This is so that you can render using cycles and Intel graphics. Some of this code is not actually available. They just recently made it available, but before then, it wasn't actually part of the library, and the code was closed source, means it wasn't released. So only Blender had access to this code. Same thing or similar thing happened with the HIP libraries. The HIP libraries are another AMD type based library, but they're also in a closed source at the moment and not also available. So to compile with them was we had to shake some hands, rub some shoulders, ask some people in the Blender Foundation, hey, where are these libraries? Can we use them? How do we do it? Because it's not documented, it's a work in progress, yet it's in the master. So if we want to do a release, every time Blender does a release, we have to sometimes ask them, hey, how do we do it? So obviously the future B for artist is going to be tricky. I do hope next year, after my current double jobs that I have, to put more time into it and also to learn more about how to do it and also support Iyad to do it more. If not, even give him a job. That's my dream. But it's getting a little bit trickier these days, especially when I'm super busy. Because right now, but we're still okay. I mean, we've got 36 open issues, and which is still fine. Things get super crazy when it gets to 50, 60, 100 open tasks. But whatever happens, we can figure it out, because when 2.8 came out, there were 200 open tasks, and we got through them all. But either way, it's like it's difficult with the development of Blender, but as long as you keep up, keep track, keep it every day open, or every week, getting it the merges weekly done, then there's no too big issue to overcome. And there we go. So that's the general concept. But I hope life would be easier once they move to Git tier. That's why, to me, their announcement that they're leaving Fabricator and using Gatia, which is Gitflow workflows, I hope that would make life much easier and also makes their code much easier to work with. So who knows? Even if they do refactors, because they're changing their entire system of how they're going to do it, it will make life possibly much easier. I hope. So long answer.
It was cool, but it does show how hard it is to work on a living software. It's crazy.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the core developer Rainer, he's still kicking and he does a lot of work and he knows everything inside out. Like he's 10 times as fast as I am and he knows everything inside out. Mostly. The problem is he's been a little bit decommissioned due to some personal issues or work that he needs to do. So that has slowed some development down over the recent while. But we'll see. I got to get back into this. I'll be hitting holidays soon, so that's when I start working on new things, which I have plans for. For example,
I swear I won't ask you for tutorials during the real holidays this year.
Maybe. Do a beginner course.
I can't promise, but I swear.
Good, good. So no promises, but lots of swearing. But that's generally like my plans for B4Artist as an artist is to continue using the software for my work and sponsoring the development for it when I can through developers who are capable, and also like contributing to the default library. So for example, in the future I want a nice strong default library included with B4Artist before Blender finishes theirs. With some geometry nodes, compositor nodes, shader nodes. We already have this massive material library included. And I also want to add some like static meshes and basic setups and rigs and things like that so that people can have some templates to start working without too much fuss directly included with the software. And I think the strong part would be getting some good shader node groups and geometry node groups. So right now, for example, I already included edgeware and curvature masks and hard edge masks and a soft edge mask and a bevel mask and ambient occlusion, things like that, triplanar mapping, custom triplanar mapping and things like that inside of shaders. In the future, I would like to make it a lot more complete, a lot more professional, because as B4Artist vision is basically give you an accessible ground or foundation to start your work without too much overhead of learning how. But we'll see. That's basically where I'm at the moment. But so obviously it's gonna be a trick keeping up with Blender, that's for sure. And we'll see. Anyway, so that's it for today, I suppose. So I'm kind of drunk. Thank you so much for your art and putting yourself out there. And your questions as well. Thanks, Link, for your opinion as well. I think it's super important. And I also want to say thanks everyone for connecting today to have a bit of this open discussion and a little bit of a topic about the Blender conference. I know it was my own opinions. Please don't take it to heart. It comes with a grain of salt. It was nice to talk about.
Oh, I've got an opinion.
Yes, tell me.
I've got an opinion. What do you think of Andrew Price's payment for the artist on Polygon?
On Twitter? $10 to $15 an hour?
Oh, yeah.
Atrocious.
To be fair, it's like junior, but he's expecting like master quality.
And it's not
like
even.
It is a junior.
It's not even junior.
But it says it's junior, but the requirements aren't.
A triple A,
yeah. Requirements are like AAA. That's not junior. That's like but it's like Grandmaster.
They did remove
King.
that from the post part.
Yeah, they deleted the tweet.
No, not a tweet. They amended the job posting.
Oh, good. So what does it say now?
It's still you're still getting paid more to be customer services.
Wait, so what is the salary that they're offering on the wage?
On customer services, it's $10 an hour.
All right, the Australian
Uh,
wage is really low, 7.25 Australian dollars per hour.
Between a certain age, I believe. I think if you're over 23, it's $12 an hour.
Yeah, it would be like that. New Zealand, I think, is 15, but New Zealand dollars are
Well,
pretty low. I heard it's
I was playing doubles.
17.7 Australian dollars per hour. 21 years and older. For those who are 16 years to 21, it's
Yeah.
36% less. But even then, he's offering peanuts.
This is what I was saying the other day. I was playing devil's advocate and kind of playing it down the middle. If that's all you can afford to pay somebody, that's all you can afford to pay.
Yeah, that is true. Here in Colombia, the minimum salary here is $2.50 per day.
Bruh.
So if someone was getting paid $10 to $15 as a Colombian working remotely, it's fine for them, because that with inflation, that's you're practically earning a day's wage every hour, and then you work 8 hours a day, you've earned everything for a week. You work 5 days a week, you've earned everything for the whole month. And then you've got another 3 more weeks of work to do, so you're making a killing. It's great. Inflation does you favors. But locally, you can't compete with these salaries, and you also have to bet in another country with people who speak Spanish, who are in another industry, who earn peanuts in comparison. And is that fair to your local industry? Or is that fair for your international industry, who has a very unstable economy, not a very strong currency, a lot of poverty, crime, or issues in their economy? Or do you pay a local salary, a competitive salary for someone who's an intern in your local economy, and still pay that to someone who could be living like a king in their own country if they were earning this international salary? So it's kind of an ethical debate. Do you keep it low but keep it international on countries that would benefit from that low salary, and you could benefit from it, and everyone benefits from it, but really your local economy doesn't, or your international economy, which has a stronger currency like the euro or the US dollar, they won't benefit from it? Or do you pay the same competitive prices from the international community and really inject a huge amount of wealth into countries that really need it, and give opportunity to your local economy? So in my opinion, ethically, keep your prices really high, because imagine paying someone who's living in these even though it's $10, $15 an hour is a lot for a country with a devalued currency. If you give them an international competitive rate so that an international talent can still compete with your talent pool, and also give that opportunity to the international community, well, the international community in the countries that have it tough, they would greatly benefit from a competitive salary of $30, $35, $45 an hour. They would love that. So my ethical debate is, well, raise your prices anyway, even if you can exploit. That's my opinion. So you kind of screwed up there. But yeah, you're right. If you don't have that money, then you can't really do much about it.
I was just want to get my big wooden spoon in to see what you're about.
But it's a good point. It's a big ethical debate, right? Because, yeah, if you don't have the cash, then what do? Do you hire someone from overseas to get the job done? Or do you hire someone who's still at school to get the job done? Would that be exploitation or not? But he's a big name, right? So obviously he's going to be underneath a microscope on every single word he says and every single thing he does. So it went viral, obviously, because he's very popular. What do you think about that?
I'm in two mindsets.
I need money.
You mentioned one,
Well,
which was the budget. What's your second mindset?
well, let's assume that his budget's. Let's assume that he has a larger budget, and it's. I wouldn't call it exploitation because I think that's a bit. I think that's a bit underhanded.
Sorry about that.
So let's. No, it's not just you. It's the general kind of consensus that's been going on. Ah, fuck! Just scored. I would argue that he's actually creating jobs, so that job wouldn't have been there prior. So he can actually demand any price that he wants, because somebody will bite, somebody will take it. If somebody,
Yes,
somebody,
that is true.
maybe not in Slink's position, but somebody who's wanting to get a foot in the door or whatever. Or maybe somebody from India that the average pays $3 an hour, whatever. You know what I mean? You said to yourself, you would live like a king.
Yeah, you're right. So, for example,
So I think at the end of the day, it's his company and he can charge whatever he wants. Whether it falls below industry standard, yeah, it's a bit shit.
yeah,
And it really should be about $40 an hour. But at the end of the day, it's his company. And it's one more job. So I don't know.
you're right. Yeah, that's a debate that I always confront myself here in Colombia, actually, with hiring local talent. There's a possibility that I can hire double, or I could hire people and pay double the local competition easily, and it would be still half price for an international client. But sometimes I still think about it like, well, is that still fair that I'm for everyone else that I know?
Nah, it's fine.
I mean, we could pin the situation on you, for example. Like, why do you hire Ayat? Is it because you trust him? Is it because he's cheap? You know what I mean?
Yeah, previously, yeah. This year I decided not to hire, mainly because at the end of the day,
The budget reasons.
one of them was budget. Yes, I wasn't making any profit because I wasn't charging enough, as you know. But the other one was because the local talent was not the highest quality that I needed. So that's another issue as well.
Should have hired me.
So that's
we need
also
somebody
a spiral
reliable.
as well, right? Like if you invest in local talent, that's great because they get better at what they do and they become trustworthy. But at the same time, sometimes it's more economical in the long run if you hire someone who has experience and who charges more to get the job done. So it's a fine line, really. But I stopped doing
when
it.
I done the
Hmm?
when I done the calculation on his post and I took it at the high rate of $20 per hour, I think it worked out at £22,000 British money, which is $4 or $5 grand less than a junior. So it's not that much less when you think about it. So a junior position in a 3D junior position in Britain starts from anywhere between 22,000 and 28.
Yeah. And then you
Generally.
get into like once you transition from junior to something else, it becomes 35, 45, right? 55 maybe.
Not necessarily. It generally goes to 28 to 35. Depends on the company. It depends on the location as well. Like, for example, if you're a 3D artist in London, you'll make more than a 3D artist than you would in, say, Manchester. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good point as well. So,
I don't know if people are just hating on it because
everyone
it's
wants to be
something to
paid
cherry
more.
pick.
Yeah, that's why I said he's a very popular guy, right? There's a popular opinion to debate about, similar to something like debating about NFTs or debating about AI or debating about the trend or the latest politics or the latest bill that's being passed or something like that. You can take a
The
side.
latest existence.
Latest existence, exactly. You can argue about the latest drama that's happened to the latest pop stars. So and so said this to someone and something like that, and this is all a contradiction and interesting. Yeah.
Definitely, yes.
It just goes to show how much that company's actually making. They can employ several people.
Yeah, if they can hire a couple of those at 22,000 each, that's a good turnover. So they must be growing, and that's a good thing, really. So you're right, it does make jobs.
What do you, since we're on the topic of jobs, what do you think of freelance sites?
Like Upwork and Fiverr and things.
Like Fiverr?
Yeah, things like that. Fiverr and I forgot the name of the other one.
Upwork.
Workana.
Oh, Hub.
I wouldn't. I don't know if I would class Fiverr as a freelance site,
No, it's not.
per se.
I'm asking because I'm trying to make some extra income because things in Brazil are kind of tough too, and I don't get jobs, and I only work for free.
I feel you.
I'm only working for friends, so I don't want to charge them because I don't know.
It doesn't sound like a good friend to me, to be honest.
What?
Yeah.
If they're not going to pay you for the work, it doesn't sound like a good business.
Yeah.
There's an old saying: if they're a friend, they'll gently pay you more.
Yeah, concerning
Oh.
work. Well, there's always work. It's just I found one client on Upwork, and that was the only internet work that I ever found in my entire life. The other work that I found was on Facebook, and maybe Twitter got me contacts, but I've never really found work on an online website. I found the best work is from friends who have recommended me work. So, for example, getting to know someone who works in a publicity agency, and I make friends with them, keep in touch, and I tell them that I can take on work if they have any extra work. And sometimes they do, and sometimes I've offered a commission. Before in the past, when I was starting, a commission helped. I said, well, if you help me land this client, I'll give you 15%, or something like that. And then the person who's working in the publicity agency is like, hey, I got this little job. It's a bit small. We don't want to take it. Do you want to take it? And so I took on the publicity job. It's like, here's your 15%. It's like, cool, man, thanks. Sometimes I give them, I offer a commission and they don't even take it. And they just referenced me work anyway. Because I was doing a good job and they trusted me with more work. But it requires making contacts and getting in touch with people and keeping track of people, what they do, how they do it, why they do it, and working with that. Well, anyway, we went down a rabbit hole. Thanks for that, Steve. That was good.
No worries. I can think of hundreds of shit to talk about.
That's great. Let's do it next week. I would love to continue this.
But fuck off. See you soon.
All right, I gotta go as well. So, I wish you guys a good week. And if you'd like to connect and have some art to take a look at or continue working on these topics, if you have more questions and things that you'd like me to do research on, I'll be here same time, same place. Hopefully starting at 2000 or 2015 UTC. And with that, I will see you next Friday. Thanks.
Yeah, James. Thank you for your time.